This week we heard confirmation that we'll be getting an entirely brand new Star Wars movie trilogy, along with a Star Wars TV show. From what we know about the movie trilogy so far, it's supposed to be separate from the episodic Skywalker saga, and will introduce new characters from a corner of the galaxy that Star Wars lore has never yet explored. The Last Jedi director Rian Johnson will write and produce the new trilogy along with directing the first entry. There isn't any release date yet, but the rumors are strong that this trilogy will release right after the Sequel Trilogy is complete. So, what do I think about this? Well, I'm quite happy to hear this and interested to see where this will go, just like any other Star Wars fan. It will be a fresh take on a Star Wars trilogy that hasn't anything to do with the Skywalker saga, and I'm all for it, as it'll be a new opportunity to explore brand new stories within this galaxy we all love. And seeing Disney give such an opportunity to Rian Johnson only raises my expectation of The Last Jedi even more. Because come on, there's no way he'd get his very own trilogy if The Last Jedi didn't impress Disney as much as it did. Now what everyone's asking is, what exactly will this new trilogy be about? That's a big question here, and I've got several possible ideas that could very well be what this trilogy will focus on. One thing that we have to remember is that according to the press release, this new trilogy will focus on something brand new that hasn't yet been seen before, which isn't a hard thing to do in Star Wars with its expansive lore, and I think these ideas take full advantage of that. Number 1. An origin story, whether it be a Jedi origin story on how the Jedi first started, to even the origins of the Force, and following the events of the first individual in Star Wars history to first discover and ever use it. This would essentially be like starting with a blank canvas, as it would be a Star Wars world where the Force is a brand new thing and there is no such thing as Jedi or Sith yet. You'd be pretty much seeing how everything started, and I think it's a pretty cool idea, as none of this material has been covered in any of the comics or novels, so I think there's a lot of potential to be had here. Number 2. Carrying on from that idea, there's also the chance that the trilogy can focus on the Jedi and the Sith War. While not as ancient as the first idea, it is still pretty old when compared to the time of the Clone Wars or the Galactic Civil War. Here Rian Johnson will be able to explore the liberation of Coruscant, the refoundation of the Galactic Republic, and the creation of the Rule of Two for the Sith by Darth Bane. Number 3. This trilogy will be about the origins of Snoke, and no, not him as a main character though, but with him still as an antagonist. Since Snoke isn't being explored in the Sequel Trilogy, and Johnson did say we won't see much of Snoke in The Last Jedi, this trilogy will be able to provide those answers, as well as attempting to reframe the entire Star Wars conflict as one where Snoke is the ultimate villain, and reframing the very nature of the Force. It seems convenient, as there are many seeds that have been planted in the current Star Wars canon about what happened 1,000 years ago, and Snoke is clearly some kind of ancient creature who was involved back then. It would be this trilogy where we learn more about him, while still following a different character as a protagonist. Kind of like what we did with Palpatine in the prequel trilogy, but Anakin was the main character. Idea 4. A trilogy about Jar Jar Binks. And, okay, no. Okay, idea 4. So who said that this has to take place in the past at all? Just like with every other Star Wars trilogy that keeps going forward in time, so can this one. Instead of old Luke Skywalker, we can get an older Rey who may also teach the ways of the Force to her apprentice. Then we can have an evil Empire copycat faction called the Second Order fight the Insurgency or something crazy like that. I'm sure this idea is not very popular, but I figured it had to be mentioned as there's still a chance that Disney can take this franchise in this direction, especially seeing just how loved the characters of Rey, Finn, and Rose are. Idea 5. Alright, so this is what I'm thinking. According to the marketing in The Last Jedi, we learn about some extremely surprising and interesting things about the Jedi and the Force. Luke's whole exile was him traveling to ancient Jedi locations in order to find secrets about the light and the dark. It brought him Knock 2, and the twist is going to be about something about the Force itself. It's going to completely change the Star Wars universe as we know it. Rian Johnson and even Mark Hamill spent a lot of time thinking about hypothetical histories for these things to build upon, despite them not having the time to actually put it in the film. Now I'm guessing that whatever Johnson thought up about the Force and the Jedi, or whatever the sort, his imagination probably took him to a whole new series of events which are interesting enough to explore. And that is what I think we're gonna see. While not the Old Republic or something established, I think we'll see something interesting and fun about the one common thing that separates Star Wars from other sci-fi and fantasy franchises, the Force. And I also wouldn't be surprised if we even see Octu again, and it directly ties into The Last Jedi. Now switching gears, we have the live-action Star Wars TV show that's set to release on 2019 as a launch title for Disney's new streaming service. For this, I think there are really two options. Either have this set in the Old Republic, or the Galactic Civil War, and simply reuse a lot of those 50 scripts that were already written for George Lucas's cancelled Star Wars Underworld TV show. With most of the work already done, all Disney would really need to do is tweak some things and go straight into filming. That would be the most logical thing for them to do. Or actually, scratch that. They could create a similar series, but rather one that takes place during the events of the Sequel Trilogy. As we need to remember, this show is supposed to release on 2019, the same year that Disney's Star Wars theme park is supposed to open. And considering that theme park is set during the Sequel Trilogy, it would only make sense for Disney to do something during that era to create even more hype for the theme park. I mean, that makes sense, but whether they actually go that route or not is a whole different story. But those are only some of the ideas that we could see coming to the movie trilogy or TV series. I gave you my thoughts, now I want to hear from all of you. Which of these ideas would you best like to come true for either the movie trilogy or TV series? And if you have your own idea that isn't included in this video, then definitely let me know, as I'd love to hear it. Tell me that and everything else in the comments down below. But that'll do it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and if so, drop a like to the video to help support the channel. Also, if you're looking for more Star Wars content, I'd recommend subscribing and hitting that bell notification so you can be notified whenever a new video is dropped. As always, I'll see you on the next one.